Hey everybody, Chris Nelson DDS here again, and it's time to show you another really cool case, a before and after on a patient that is a super cool dude, and I was happy to help. So this is our case, and let's zoom in and take a look. How did we get from the beginning to the end? As you can see, the teeth are worn down. There's different colors. There's different shapes. The position of the teeth are uneven. There's just a lot of reasons to consider doing something to the teeth. Now, if a patient is happy with this particular arrangement and smile, I'm happy. I've told a bunch of patients, if you're happy, I'm happy. So great, but what if the patient's not happy and they want to do something? Well, we do a full workup and give the patient the options. Here's option A, here's option B, here's option C, here's how much option A, B, and C cost, and here's some financial arrangements that make saying yes to the treatment possible. So for this particular patient, we negotiated about, what do you want to do? What do I think you should do, etc. And what I came down with and we came down with together was to do some crowns. So we did a 3D scan of the teeth, and then we sent that to our lab and had them 3D print a model. The next step was we had our lab wax up in person on top of that 3D model the future position of the teeth. There are some offices that do this digitally. Right now we're doing it with wax. So we waxed up the case, and I had this wax up returned with a guide and some matrix. Think of it like a silly putty, but harder. So we take an impression of the wax up, and then we can transfer that wax up into the teeth. So that's what we did here. It looks kind of funky, but basically we took our wax up, we took an impression of the wax up, filled it with material, put it in the patient's mouth, and we were able to see what the teeth would look like if we were already done. Now, does this look great on this big screen or on the file in front of you? I mean, it looks kind of funny. There's parts that, like that's filled in, the edge is visible, etc. But what I want you to look at is kind of the overall shape of the teeth, the size, the design of the teeth. Take a look at that, because that's kind of what we were looking at, we were evaluating. And when we did that, we both got to look at it in the mirror and see, hey, are we on the right track? Does this look good? Is this something that you want to do? Yes, no, maybe. Have a conversation about it. We didn't leave that wax up in. We took it off. We let the patient go around town, and then at the next visit, we actually put the wax up transfer back in the mouth, and I prepped through the wax up transfer using what I affectionately call the Epcot prep design. Have you ever been to Disney World? You've seen Epcot, and it has the little like bumps on it. So the Epcot design gives you reduction guides, and you are prepping through the wax up. So as an example, if you only need 2 millimeters of reduction in one direction, you can make reduction. What I'm trying to describe is the process of getting all the measurements proper and being super conservative with your preparation. So I went ahead, and here are the crown preps. It's kind of an angry looking scene a little bit, but this is dentistry. You also can see some dark lines. That's cord that have been packed under the gums to get a good scan. Crowns look pretty aggressive, right? And a fair amount of tooth is removed to do a crown. So that's why we want to be conservative when we can. There are definitely cases where we don't want to do crown preps. There are also cases where crown preps are the only way you can repair a tooth or substantially change the position of the tooth or change the shape of the tooth. So we kind of were checking all of those boxes here, and so we decided, and the patient signed up for doing the crown preps, so that's what they look like. The other thing that I noticed here is there's a really big diastema space between these front two teeth. So that's a big span, and our lab is going to have to accommodate for that. In fact, if you go back and look at the wax up, it's not really visible. Like the teeth look even proportions and everything. That looks nice, but if we were to uncover this wax up, we'd probably find that the central teeth are kind of shifted out and the laterals are shifted in. So there's some magic that can happen behind the scenes with having a good wax up and transferring that into the mouth and having a good lab technician. So So those are our crown preps. Now these are temporary crowns that I made chairside, and this is a photo right after I seated them. So they're a little bit messy. There's dust in there. The gums are a little bit angry up there. But what you can see is that shape of the teeth is very similar to the wax up. That's because we use the wax up to guide the shape of the temporary crowns. So these are what we consider chairside temporaries. So let's review. We have the pre-op condition, the smile design / wax up, the preparations, and now the chairside temporaries. So is that it? Then do they get their final crowns? Well, in our practice, typically not. We will have them wear these temporary crowns for only a matter of a couple days, maybe even a week. And then we have our lab make lab-fabricated temporaries. And these lab-fabricated temporaries are super fancy. Now, what you'll notice is they're super clean. They're also uniform. You'll also see it's on a 3D printed model. So I scanned the preparations into the computer, sent those to my lab. They made me the 3D printed temporaries off of the wax up. Okay, they're very similar. They all kind of look the same up there, right? So these ones I believe are milled out of a solid block of material. You can also use a 3D printer to make them. This is a little bit of a scary picture, but it is a photo of me cutting through the chairside temporaries to remove them so that I can place the custom temporaries. And sometimes you can just grab the temporary and pull it off, but when there's a whole bunch of crowns and they're all hooked together, it's hard to get them off. So a lot of times you actually have to destroy them to remove them. You might ask, well, why did you hook all the teeth together? Typically when we make temporary crowns, chairside temporaries, we attach them to each other for several reasons. A primary one is strength of the material so they don't break down. Another one is to have the contacts be maintained. The teeth, if you don't have them pressed up against something, sometimes they can move a little bit. So there's a bunch of reasons why you would make them hook together in the temporary stage, and then of course have them be separated for the final crowns. So what you can see here is I'm halfway through removing the my chairside temporaries, and now we're back to the prep, and now you can see the gums look a little bit happier. They've had the temporary crowns on for a little bit. The gums look a little bit happier, and the preps look nice and clean. So at this stage, we're going to go ahead and put on these lab fabricated temporary crowns, and we put them in the mouth. Now this photo is before I actually cemented them on with some temporary cement, so you can actually see little gaps around the edges. The margin is where the restorative material meets the tooth, but those little gaps there were filled in with the temporary cement, and when I seated it more, it looked better. But you can see we're already making substantial improvements in how the teeth look and the design. So by the way, I was doing the upper and the lower teeth, so I'm only showing you the upper just so that it doesn't get too complicated and the video stays relatively short. So here's a retracted view, and there's a partly open view of the temporary crowns. They looked so nice, I said we need to take a million photos. Okay, so the patient goes away with the temporary crowns, and then they have to come back, right, to get the permanent crowns. Well, in this case, we actually had to cut through the chairside temporaries in order to put on our permanent crowns. So you'll see in this photo, it's the same photo from before, but you get the idea. I had to cut through my beautiful lab fabricated temporaries to put on the permanent crowns. So that's always a bit of a bummer. But here is a photo of the final crowns, and what you'll see is they look really nice. The patient was really happy with the final outcome, and yeah, it's just like a great experience overall. I love helping people, and this is a wonderful way to do that. So the before and after, there's the before condition with the teeth, and there's the after. I mean, not a bad transformation. One more time, there's the before condition and the after. So overall, it's a fun thing to do to help people. So overall, there you get to see a little bit behind the scenes on a case. This particular case was really fun to help this individual. I think patients would do their own dentistry if they could. They would do their own dentistry. And so my opportunity is to facilitate that treatment, whatever they want, have me do it at an A+ level if possible, and really help make people's lives better through their smile. There aren't a lot of things that are more personal than a smile, so changing that, that responsibility is not taken lightly by me, nor by my team. So if you're interested in learning more, leave a comment. I'll read and reply to the comments. If you have questions, leave a comment. If you're in the Reading area and interested in looking into something like this, I'd be happy to help you. We have to do our new patient exam process, so it's not like we just sit down and go. And we're very thorough in that process. You might think you want crowns. I might think you actually need to have ortho, have your teeth straightened or whitened. You might think you need crowns or veneers, and I might think you need to do some composite bonding. So it's a process, it's a communication, and I'd be happy to help you either virtually through some question answering or in person if you're in the Reading area. So anyways, check it out. What do you think? I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Chris Nelson, DDS, signing off. I'll see you on the next video.